you are live and direct on Petty Sportz, the podcast, brought to you by KINGZ Broadcasting Studios and Pulse 880 Radio, the heartbeat of Atlanta. It's your boy, the host, Famous Fees. They call me Facts. It's good to be back. I'm here live with my man, Adam. Holla, Adam.
Right there with you, Fees. Amazing to be back, bro. Appreciate y'all holding it down last week. Great vacation. Even better to be back in the studio, though. Episode 64, alive and well. I think Fees might take it easy on me. You know we're talking the finals today, but appreciate everyone tuning in. Call the show, comment, hit the QR code on the screen. But Fees, as always, please bless us with the lineup tonight.
Oh, yeah, man. We always got an action-packed lineup for you. We're going to break down the finals and everything that happened, where Golden State's going, where the Boston Celtics are going. We also going to jump into a few more things. You heard Jason Garrett is about to be in the booth doing a little bit of something like what we do. Let you know how that worked. I'm going to bring back that segment that I didn't give you last week about the 2000s, basically the 21st century. I believe it just might be the best era in sports. So you need to stay tuned so we can tell you why. We're bringing back expectations versus reality. We're going to start this thing off with the hottest division in the entire NFL, the AFC West. So for all you Chiefs, you Broncos, you Raiders, and you Chargers fans, whether you're a fan of the team, you a stand-up player, make sure you stay tuned to the very end of the show. The last 30 minutes, we cranking it up. We'll let you know what these teams are going to do, what's going to happen for the 2022 season. It's going to be all the way live. So, man, I'm going to just go ahead and just drop it on you like I do for you every week. Get your popcorn ready. Get you a good stick. Get you a good drink. Tune in. Take some notes. Learn something, because Petty Sportz is about to go off. Off the top, baby. The NCAA has announced that in July of 2023, the new NCAA college football game is going to resurface. It's been gone since 2014.
Nuts.
It's a long time. We've got Madden every year, but the college football game has been gone for 8 years. So in year 9, it is coming all the way back. And this time, the players and the coaches, they're actually going to get compensation because of NIL deals.
Thankfully.
So will this be a success after damn near a 10-year hiatus?
I surely hope so, Fees, because, you know, obviously this game is going to be backed by EA Sports. And like you said, Madden is everything we have for football right now. And Madden still is the best-selling game franchise of all time. You know, and you look at the fact that 14 was highly acclaimed. A lot of people loved it. It sold really well. And everyone that played sports games then and still plays sports games now really missed this. But licensing, you know, lawsuits, a lot of speculation around the players and the coaches they couldn't put in, unfortunately, really killed it for everybody. But since the last release, you look at the big positives that could actually come around for this game. So people might not agree, but I think it's a better college football playoff system, kind of than, you know, you had all these bowl games and you're like, oh, well, how do they decide the national championship? Well, even if it's 4 teams, we have a little more solidarity on that. NIL is rightfully implemented, so you're going to get people that are going to get paydays. That's going to draw people to the game, to be in it, to play it, and just feel great about it overall. And then you look at the fact that competition is higher. Other schools are getting more recognized. You've got better game systems now. You got better graphics. So it's all in the works for really for them to blow up with it. I mean, it kind of feels like some pressure in a way, but I think EA could do well with this. They got to make it different from Madden, though, whether it's a little bit of gameplay, whether it's a little bit of different graphics, storylines, whatever it is. I know it's by EA, but I know the people that play religiously, me included if you can't tell, we're going to want something different from the game. You know, so I definitely think it is set up for success, but they just got to go get it. It's right there in front of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely can be a success. I feel like they probably took the hiatus for a good reason.
Yeah.
For the same reason that it's different when we when we cover NFL football as opposed to college football, there are 10 times more teams, and that's just lightly placing it. There are so many college football teams. For them to make a video game that encompasses all of the teams, especially when we start talking about not just D1, maybe D2. Now you're looking at, like, should we add the HBCUs in there?
Right.
You have to do boatloads more research to add all these players to the game and then consider NIL with compensating everyone for using their likenesses.
Yep.
It's a lot for them to make a college football game just because of the magnitude of the players. I mean, for the fact that they're bringing this back, I think they took a lot of time, did a lot of research, and it probably was necessary that they took this long hiatus before they actually brought it back to figure out what the best way to do this would be.
Right.
So now in the wake of NIL and the fact that they've actually had an outcry of people year after year asking for this game to come back,
Yep.
they should actually have it right at this point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'll definitely be interested in looking at what approach they took to how many teams are actually on the game and how deep they went into actually giving player attributes to, like, you'll automatically be able to tell how much time they put into researching the players and the teams. So, I mean, I would check it out for that reason. I don't play the games like that anymore. I stopped a long time ago, but I used to rock with it. Anytime you play, if you play against me, I'm going to use the 2005 USC, and I'm going to drag you. That's what's going to happen.
Can't knock you for that, bro. Reggie. Literally.
You can't tackle Reggie in any NCAA game, and it should always be that way.
Right. Chris G, what's good? Jamila, share. OTF Wilkerson. Thank you for checking Rakeem. Maybe he'll hop in as well. Looks like we got a little bit of spam here, whoever that might be. Talk about how I was right about my Warriors. It's coming, Chris. It's okay. We got to ease back into it. I'm coming back now. Fees is easing me into the conversation. No, we're going to get there, man. We're going to hear all of it, and might be a bad time for me. Might be a great time for Fees. Who knows?
He's talking about how he was right. No, we're not here to talk about you. I was right. I called the Golden State Warriors in 6. So since you mentioned it, we're just going to pivot right on
Let's
into it.
get on into it, man. I'm sweating already, dude.
Golden State won their 4th title in 8 years, reclaimed their spot as the big dog in the NBA. Steph Curry finally got his first NBA Finals MVP, which is a travesty, the fact that he doesn't have 2. But aside from the obvious being Steph, what or who was the biggest factor for the Warriors in this 4th championship?
Love hearing that, Fees. So definitely defense. We saw that, when Golden State, when it really came down to it, Golden State obviously had what it took to play defense on a Jason Tatum, on a Jaylen Brown, to take a Marcus Smart out of the game, to really neutralize an Al Horford. And that was really impressive because we knew it was the matchup of the first and second best defensive teams in the NBA. And knowing that, I mean, like you said, Fees, the fact that Steph Curry actually played, not that he actually played like a defensive player, but the level of defense he played in these finals. I mean, you made a great point about it in the group chat coming back on the show. And he showed that, whether it was pickpocketing Marcus Smart, whether it was stripping Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown when they were going to the rim. And you also got to look at the fast break. We know when the Warriors get out on the fast break, whether it's Draymond running it, Clay, Steph, now you've got Wiggins, now you got Poole. They are the deadliest team in the NBA when they run the break. And clearly Boston could not keep up with that. Has a little bit to do with a lot of it really to do with experience. They've been here before. They know what to do. They know what it takes in the big game. And you said last week on the show, they smelled blood in the water. That's exactly what they did in this game. And then offensive consistency, of course. I mean, everyone stepped up when they needed to. I would have liked to see more out of Clay, but clearly Steph took over the series. You got you plenty of Andrew Wiggins, whether it was a lot defensively or even a couple of nights offensively as well, picking up for a Jordan Poole, picking up for a Klay Thompson. So Golden State just, again, knowing that they won 3 in a row, to end the series, literally, they settled in. They were comfortable. Nothing could really shake them, and it got kind of ugly for Boston as the series went on. Hate to admit it, but we can't deny what the eye showed us in this series, man.
Oh, no, I mean, absolutely not. I mean, outside of Steph Curry, it is like there's no question that it was Andrew Wiggins. I mean, that guy played lights out. He averaged 18 points per game, which was a point up from his regular season average.
Yep.
Shot 44% from the field, which actually was a little bit less than what he normally was doing, but he did so much work on defense. Before I even get to his defense, 8.8 rebounds a game. He averaged 4.5 for the regular season. He damn near doubled his rebound production, and he took up his assists. So, I mean, outside of that, defense was like that was the major factor in the game.
Yep.
He took Jason Tatum out of the series. It was very similar to what we saw in 2010. You remember 2010 Lakers Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
Ron Artest, I believe he was going by Meta World Peace at that time.
At the time.
He's gone by so many names.
And now it's Meta Sandiford Artest.
Game 1 of the 2010 NBA Finals, Meta World Peace, back slammed, and I know you're like, what the hell does that mean? He actually locked up, Paul Pierce from behind, slammed him, and he literally took Paul Pierce's soul out of the entire series, and that really just changed everything. Andrew Wiggins didn't do anything as physically ridiculous as what Meta World Peace did, but he effectively took Jason Tatum out of the series. He held Jason to 21, 7, and 7 on 36% shooting. Now, if you sound like, those aren't bad numbers. No, they're not. But when you compare it to what he did in the regular season,
right?
Jason Tatum was 27, 8, and 4. So, I mean, that's considerably below his scoring and rebounding. He had more assists because he actually pushed him into being more of a passer than actually a scorer, because that's all he could actually get away with.
Right. Tatum's got to be stronger.
He destroyed his efficiency, changed his game, turned him into a point guard, which he's not. And it showed that he didn't have the athleticism to actually get his game off against Andrew Wiggins. So outside of Steph Curry, who was far and away the MVP, and for anyone who is trying to debate that, you can kick rocks. Andrew Wiggins was definitely the next most important guy. He basically took on the role of what Draymond played in the first 3, being the glue guy. He gave you the points where he needed them. He gave you the defense all over the court. Gave you that little spark in any spot that you needed it. It was Andrew Wiggins.
Very impressive for him. And we remember all the speculation about the trade coming over. I see Christy in the chat saying best trade ever. I don't know if we can honestly say that, but of course it was very, I know, right? I know he doesn't mean that. It was very reputable. Maybe the biggest trade of the season, of course. I mean, we knew the money that was involved. We knew Andrew Wiggins' career, before he got to Golden State. And the big question was, could he fit in? What is he going to do? How is he going to provide? He just showed you in the finals. So now you're dealing with Andrew Wiggins, Jordan Poole. Klay Thompson's going to come back better next year. Obviously, you've got Steph Curry. Kevon Looney was a monster throughout the playoffs. So it's just up here for Golden State. I mean, it's going to be very exciting to see. It's almost going to be like you're going to have like a new version of this team, because Klay's not himself. Dre is, but now it's Poole. Now it's Wiggins. Steph is coming off the finals MVP. So it's definitely going to be nice to see, Fees. I definitely agree with Andrew Wiggins.
Absolutely. So, man, looking at the other side of this, the Celtics, now they made it to the mountaintop and were so close to actually bringing home the NBA's biggest prize. They made it to the finals. We're up 2-1. Where did the league's top defensive team drop the ball on the biggest stage?
I think the first thing we obviously got to look at is experience. We know that this was Tatum's first time. We know this was Smart's first time. We know this was Brown's first time making it to the finals. Obviously, we know that they've been to the Eastern Conference Finals. But we can't forget also the fact that they did have a rookie head coach who did coach a great playoffs, great regular season. I'm not going to sit here and make excuses for him, but we are talking about a Steve Kerr against Ime Udoka, which I think is still a great coach. He's going to come back and provide for this team next year. But alongside from coaching, it's Steph's been here before, Klay's been here before, Draymond's been here before. So experience is a big thing that stands out. Superstars disappeared also for the, I wouldn't say disappeared, but they definitely didn't provide as much as they needed to. A lot of 30 and 40% shooting nights from Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown tried to carry the team in some of this series, but wasn't necessarily able to by himself, which is why him and Tatum complement each other. And you got to have more out of an Al Horford who can't be dropping 25, 30 one night and then for 6 straight games drops the same amount of points, like 5-6 points each night. You can't do that. Turnovers as well. We know Boston turns the ball over like crazy. They did it against Miami. A lot of silly passes from Jason Tatum and Marcus Smart, and that just comes with experience. They got to get coached up. They got to get better with that. Again, we can't forget this is the first year for their head coach, but they're going to come back and improve on that. And they're just going to adjust at the end of the day, man. I mean, again, when Golden State got comfortable, they started running the break. They started shooting the threes. It looked like that team that we had seen go to 3, 4, 5 finals already, So really no surprise. Experience, turnovers, and the superstars just had to be bigger for Boston at the end of the day, and clearly they weren't.
I mean, I think the Celtics actually just literally failed themselves there. They made it to the mountaintop, but they lost 3 straight games.
Yeah.
I mean, Al Horford dropped 26 points in game 1, gave everyone a false sense of hope to think that they would play like that the entire series. He had 22 points in the fourth quarter, and after that, he got 30 points over the next 4 games combined.
Yep.
And they lost 3 of those 4. The defense of the Warriors actually picked up once they saw what it was that Boston was trying to do. Boston's scoring average of 111.8 points per game in the regular season, they were held to 94 points per game in the last 3 games.
Wow.
I mean, they stunted their scoring so much.
Yeah.
The thing that does not get highlighted about what happened in the NBA Finals is the level of defense that Golden State played on Boston. everyone was talking about the Boston Celtics defense. The Warriors were number 2 in defense, but the Warriors also have a superior offense, and that's how they prevailed. Golden State's scoring was consistent in all 6 games. They averaged 104.8 points per game with a low of 100 and a high of 108. They were even keel the entire series. Every game, they're giving you about 105. In like game 4, we saw a 19-point fourth quarter from Boston and an offensive explosion from Steph, where he dropped 43 points. Marcus Smart, he took 9 3-pointers in that game, just way outside of his threshold. No one ever needs to see Marcus Smart shoot that many shots from that far away from the basket. Jalen, he had 5 fouls, so he was in foul trouble. Game 5, that was the Wiggins game. He had 26 and 13, and Golden State outscored Boston by 9 in the fourth quarter and won by 10. There were multiple fourth quarter meltdowns by the Celtics. Then you look at game 6 at home in a closeout game. Golden State won the game in the first half. They went up by 15 and ended up winning by 13. Boston never got back into the game. That's why you got Steph running around the court with 6 minutes left in the third quarter, sizing himself up for another ring.
Yep.
Because the game was over. So in a matchup between the 2 top defenses in the league, the Warriors were just able to sustain more offense.
Yep.
I mean, they averaged 104.8 to 100.8 for the finals, and that was the difference because Boston just couldn't score.
Yep.
It was a lack of offense. Both of them held each other well below their regular season averages. It was just a matter of Boston could not generate enough offense because the defense of the Warriors was a little bit too good, and no one actually credited it. Like, no, people actually forgot that Golden State's defense was rated that high.
Right.
It showed, though. You shut down Jason Tatum, and all of a sudden, Boston's offense was ineffective. So I think the Golden State defense, Steph Curry's greatness, and Wiggins' individual performance against Tatum was the downfall of the Celtics.
Yep. Highly agree. Cher said, let me find it here. Talking about the coach's philosophy, it was very good. I feel like the coach's philosophy was whoever has the ball, shoot. Even if you're cold, just shoot it. Bad philosophy. Definitely agree. Grant Williams and Pritchard were very cold, kept taking shots. Tatum had a trillion turnovers. Totally agree with that. All great points there, Cher. Yeah, it was tough to see again. I mean, when you sat back and thought, wow, after game 2, that was it. Or excuse me, after the second win for Boston, that was it. Golden State they won the must win, 2-1. They couldn't go back home down 3-1. Then they went up 3-2, and they smell blood in the water ever since. So hats off to him, man. Experience and just, I mean, who's coming for him next year? Like we talked about earlier, who really has the firepower to deal with that, and it's going to be better next season.
Oh, absolutely. So now it's time to really, really stir the pot. Everybody been waiting to see what we think about it. I had multiple people in my inbox, people just tagging me to post and to see, like, what do you think about this? With a 4th title and a Finals MVP award, where does Steph Curry rank all time for you?
Oh, man. So how do you want to do this? Just kind of like 1 through 10 lightly, or I'm just sure you don't want to take like a bunch of time with it?
No, you can go with your whole 10.
Okay, cool. So number
you
one,
be able to take it in.
Right. I just know we're gonna be going here. So number one, obviously, Michael Jordan, the GOAT, 10 scoring titles, 6 finals MVPs. We know what MJ's done in the league. Number 2 for me is Kobe, closest to MJ that we've ever seen. One of the greatest of all time. Offensive players, of course. NBA MVP, 5-time champion. We know what Kobe Bryant did as well. Number 3, Kareem, obviously skyhooking his way to the most points in NBA history with 1 3 ever made, which absolutely blew my mind. 3 MVPs with the Bucks, 3 with the Lakers. Again, we know what Kareem has done in the NBA. But actually, crazy enough, he finished top 5 in MVP voting 15 times. Just learned that today. Absolutely nuts. Obviously, he's a freak. Number 4, LeBron. Again, not much explanation needed here. He had a lot of pressure on him coming into the league, completely fulfilled it, made great shoes. He's made $1 billion. He's obviously open to school. Carried teams. Again, it's LeBron James. Number 5, Wilt the Stilt Chamberlain. I mean, it's absolutely nuts. Averaging 50 points per game in the 61-62 season. 23 rebounds in his entire career per game. The 100-point game. 46 minutes per game in 13 seasons. We know, again, what Wilt has done for the league. Probably the biggest highlight of him, though. First 7 years in the league, made 7 straight All-NBA teams, Rookie of the Year and MVP in the same year. First ever to do so. 66, 67, and 68. 3 straight MVPs for him. Number 6, Bill Russell. 11 rings, 10 straight throughout that 1 decade, besides the 1 year, obviously, at the end. Last 2 as a player coach. 10-0 in Game 7s for Bill Russell. So when it was time for him to step up, he absolutely did it. 5 MVPs in 8 seasons. Won 3 MVPs in a row also. Biggest thing about Bill Russell, though, is they didn't record blocks and steals back then. And some people say if you dig deep enough into the numbers, obviously it's a little tough to do that considering how far back they are. But some say Bill Russell could have averaged anywhere from 8 to 12 blocks per game, which is absolutely nuts. But we know the NBA was a different time back then, a lot more physical, a lot more defensive at that point. Number 7, Magic Johnson, clearly on this list for a reason. Massive point guard at the... You think so? A little low for Magic. Massive point guard at the time. Credit him and Bird for kind of coming in the 80s there and really saving the NBA. And they were so different. But it was great how, kind of had the feud going on there. Obviously, Showtime Lakers. We know the MVPs. We know the Finals MVPs that Magic has won. One Finals MVP as a rookie, back-to-back steals leaders. I mean, again, we know what Magic Johnson has done. Number 8 for me is going to be Tim Duncan, Mr. Fundamental, the bank shot beast. Very, very intelligent. And I do put him, spoiler alert, above Shaq because I think he's more versatile. I think he was a better playmaker. Obviously, he wasn't as dominant as Shaquille O'Neal. Nobody will ever be as dominant as Shaq was in the game of basketball, but top 10 in boards and blocks, 5-time champion, averaged 20 and 11 in the playoffs in his career. Number 9, Shaq, pretty explanatory. No one's going to ever dominate like Shaq did. It was either a bucket or a foul. It was 2 dribbles and a drop step, and you knew the call within a couple of seconds, so we know what Shaq did as well. One of 3 players in NBA history to win an NBA MVP, All-Star Game MVP, and the Finals MVP all in the same year. 2 scoring titles, one of the players to actually have a 60-point, 20-rebound game in the NBA. And the number 10, like everyone has been waiting for, is going to be Steph Curry for me. Only unanimous MVP ever, greatest shooter of all time, NBA all-time leader in threes. Now he's got his Finals MVP. The way he's changed the game, he completely spoiled the you can't win an NBA title shooting threes mantra. And now he joins MJ, Kareem, and Wilt as the only players in league history. LeBron missed it because he had couple of games last year that he didn't want to play, so no Bronzeside in this company, but I guess we can say he should be. Only players in league history to win multiple MVPs, multiple chips, and multiple scoring titles. And for everybody wondering where the hell Larry Bird is, he's at number 11. No, I don't have KD in the top 10 or 11. That is going to be my all-time ranking for Steph Curry. Weigh in. Let us know what you think. Call, comment, fees. The floor is yours, sir.
I mean, if my memory serves me correct, I think I have the same 10 players, but in a different order. So I'm not all the way going to argue with what you got there. But at the number 1 spot, I've got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, greatest basketball player we've ever actually seen play basketball. He was slightly before my time, but the man won 6 championships, went to 10, 6 MVPs, also won 3 NCAA championships and 2 high school state championships.
Yep.
Kareem is that guy. Cannot deny him at all. It is time for the Kobe break, so I'm going to hurry up so I can get to him. Number 2, Michael Jordan. I know that's what most people got at number 1. 6 championships, played 15 seasons. I mean, we don't really need to go through all Michael Jordan's accolades. 10 scoring titles, 1 defensive player of the year, won all these MVPs, 5 of them to be exact. So, I mean, MJ is clearly sitting at number 2. As we get to number 3 at 824, because it is time for the break, Kobe Bean Bryant sits right at number 3. 81-point game. He actually facilitated all 3 of those Shaq championships that you credit him to Shaq. Kobe carried them to the finals. Shaq was the killer in the finals because the Western Conference teams actually had big men, and they relied on Kobe to get them past them. When they played the Eastern Conference teams in the finals, they had no answer for Shaq. Kobe dominated those. And then he went on to win 2 more after they got Pau Gasol. Chris G, talking about the best trade ever. Wiggins came over there and got you 1. Pau Gasol came to the Lakers via trade, and they went to 3 NBA championships and won 2. You're going to have to get a couple of more and make it to 3 straight with Brandon Wiggins under the helm before you can start arguing with it that was the best trade ever. So there is a precedent for it. Number 4, you're going to wait because that would take us past the Kobe break. I'm going to give you my last 7 after we take our Kobe break, and Mike Beasley lets us know who pays these bills. So before we put Mike Beasley on the mic, count us down.
3, 2, 1. Kobe. R.I.P. to the Bean. We talking about you tonight, brother. You definitely in our top 5. If Kobe's not in your top 5, like we said, what are you talking about?
It ain't a top 5.
Exactly, with the NBA. Bell, take it away, my good sir.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that, Adam. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in tonight. Like always, every Wednesday, you're tuned in to Petty Sports. All brought to you by, brought to you by Pulse 880 Radio, the beat and pulse heartbeat of the South. You know what I'm saying? Pulse 880 Radio is a 24/7 internet radio station. Type it in, the Pulse 880 Radio. You can vibe out to everything that goes on over there. They got a different lineup every day. You know, it mixes up pretty good. So go over there, check them out. You know what I'm saying? Tune in and support, all right? You know what I mean? You watching Adam and Famous Facts Fees here tonight at the table. Call a friend, neighbor, co-worker. Text a friend, neighbor, co-worker. Let these sports fanatics chime in and, just, you know what I'm saying? Kick it with the fellas, you know what I'm saying? And watch some good content. They got, they've been saving it up, you know what I mean? All week long. So 678-871-9602, 678-871-9602. That's how you can join and be a part of the show tonight. We love to hear from you guys. Everybody in the chat room is going crazy. I see you over there, Miss Mathis, Miss Sharper, Chris, and everybody. Jonathan. Hey, share the show. Continue to share the link. Be a part of the show. Sharing is caring. Go to kingsbroadcasting.com, spend some money, hit the donate button, and help support the show coming to you every week like we do. And check us out on the different podcast platforms: Google, Spotify, iHeart, Apple. They're all over the place. You know what I mean? So we appreciate everybody that's been supporting that way. You can download some of the previously aired shows and watch this one here in a couple of days as well. Or listen to this one as well. But you can watch previously aired shows on the Fed Book of Face, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Just go, hey, subscribe, especially on the YouTube page. Hit Petty Sports, type it in, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, so anytime the show goes hot, you will be notified and you can tune in right away. So thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. You could have been anywhere else in the world tonight with you right here with the crew, making it do what it do. We greatly appreciate it. Hit that QR code right there on the screen, man. That Pulse 880 in the middle. Hit the QR code right there on the screen, and you can just find out a lot what's going on here with King's Broadcast and Pulse 880, and a lot of different links that you can look up that way. So thank you. Support black business, support black business, because we do ATL. Hold back to the regular scheduled program.
Yes, sir. When we went to the break, I was giving you my top 10. I'm going to run it back down for you. I had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at number 1, Michael Jordan at 2, and Kobe Bean Bryant at number 3. Number 4, y'all can go ahead and put your skirts back down. I got LeBron James sitting at number 4 with 4 championships. He's absolutely a top 5 greatest of all time player. Now, y'all think that I just hate LeBron. I don't like the way that he plays, but I can never deny how great he actually is. I've got him sitting at the 4th spot. No need to run through his accolades. Number 5, Magic Johnson. He's got to be top 5. I was really surprised that you had him so low in yours. I mean, Magic came in, changed the game, 6'9" point guard, played all 5 positions. He did everything that LeBron did before LeBron did it, but LeBron actually did it just a little bit better, even though he didn't win as many championships. But LeBron is a tick above Magic for me. At the 6th spot, Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, the dude the scoring bar that he set, the man averaged 50 points per game for a season. He had 20 and 30 rebound games. I mean, his numbers look like they really look fake, like something that you do on 2K.
Yeah.
And we do realize that he was one of the biggest, the strongest, and the fastest players in the league at the time, but that's not his fault. He dominated. They changed the game for him. They changed the free throw rules. They changed how wide the free throw line was, and they did that for Wilt. And for that, he's got to at least be at 6 for me. I just can't drop him, even with only having 1 championship. At number 7, I've got Shaquille O'Neal. The Shaq Diesel came in with Orlando, breaking backboards, ripping them out, just straight tearing them out the hinges. Never seen anything like it before. refined his game, went to the Lakers, joined up with Kobe, finally got Phil Jackson, ran the three-peat, went straight to another one. I mean, they should have gotten more championships together, but Shaq was totally dominant. In those final series, he was averaging well over 35 points a game, 13, 14 rebounds. I mean, it was pretty much outlandish. There's nothing you could do with Shaq to stock him. When he was in his prime, there was nothing that anyone could do with that guy. At number 8, I've got Tim Duncan, the guy who's always mislabeled as a power forward. He's a center also, but I can't deny him. 5 championships, the big fundamental. I mean, the dude hit the bank shot on you, take you in the post, played great defense. The only thing Tim Duncan struggled with was shooting free throws, and that was not a knock on big men in the time that he played, because big men couldn't shoot free throws. Like, most of them sucked from the free throw line. So that's absolutely not a knock. At number 9, I've got Bill Russell. I know you're like, damn, the dude's got 11 championships, and you got him all the way down to number 9. I mean, hey, I gave Wilt credit to put him farther up the list just for the mere fact that his numbers were so ungodly. Russell got the championships, but we must still consider that there were only like 8 teams in the entire NBA when they were winning all those championships. Granted, the Lakers were one of them playing against Wilt. But, you know, it's just, I mean, I wasn't around back then. Maybe if I had actually seen it, I might have him all the way at the top. But he wasn't, so that's where I got him. And at number 10, I have bumped Larry Bird off my list for one, Stephen Curry, the man they call Wardell, because that's actually his name. Steph Curry, 4 championships, 2 MVPs, the only unanimous. I mean, what else does this dude have to do to actually make his way in? I know the knock is that he doesn't play defense, and he played defense in this series, but over his career, for 13 years, no defense. I mean, you've heard him on record saying he only plays defense 50% of the time. But the way that he's come in and revolutionized the league, this dude shoots better than anything that we've ever seen, whether you want to do it statistically, just by the totals, or by the eye test.
Right.
No player we've ever seen shoots like this guy. Steph Curry is easily cracking this list. He's sitting right here at 10. If he keeps winning championships, he's going to keep moving up this list. But sitting with 4, I cannot deny him. And I know the Boston faithfuls that are like, it's blasphemous to take Larry Bird off the list. Larry Bird has less championships. Larry Bird has a couple of MVPs. I would challenge you to tell me that you would take, if you put Larry Bird on this current Golden State Warriors team, they would not be what they are. He was a great player, an all-time great player. Larry Bird is not as good as Steph Curry. I'll take Curry all day, every day. The ball handling, the IQ, the playmaking, the off the ball. And now we know he can actually play defense when he feels like it. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous to say that when he feels like it, but I mean, all in all, no shade to Larry Legend. I'm going to put Larry at 11, and I'll give you Akeem Olajuwon at 12. I don't know what kind of ignorant people you are that who's arguing Kevin Durant to be in the top 10? That's just stupid. But that's what my top 10 looks like. Too many damn
people, man. Too many. Let's see.
Absolutely. So y'all weigh in. I've seen a couple of y'all top 10s in the comments. Some of them are terrible. I'm not even going to run down them. We're going to move on to the next topic. We're shifting gears to the NFL. I know y'all heard about it. Jason Garrett he's agreed to take over for Drew Brees as an NBC analyst. The immediate buzz now is, how did Jason Garrett get the job? Everybody thinks there's something up with that. I mean, do you have an issue with Jason Garrett getting this job to go in the booth and replace Drew Brees?
Yes, and not because I'm a homer. The biggest complaint about Drew Brees, he was boring. He wasn't engaging. He wasn't talking. He wasn't breaking down plays. And that was a real disappointment, knowing that Brees was one of the smartest to ever play the game. I mean, just look at the graphic over my shoulder, ladies and gentlemen. What more have we seen Jason Garrett do on the sidelines than this motion right here? When has he ever been enthusiastic? When has he ever been exciting? When has he ever been engaging? Like, people literally would talk about, at the Cowboys' peak, Jason Garrett would clap. At the Cowboys' valley, Jason Garrett would clap. There was never any any differences with him. You know, it was always monotoned. It was never exciting, never engaging. Literally, the complaints that were made about Drew Brees in the booth, which I agree with, unfortunately, very disappointing, but it is what it is. It's a different environment. Jason Garrett got these comments as a head coach on the sidelines, in press conferences. Like, people would ask him, like, are you excited? Do you feel great about this win? Like, what's your enthusiasm around your team? What's the message in the locker room? Nothing. So we think he's going to be great on NBC, which I really hate. Tirico left, didn't he? Didn't Tirico leave? I feel like that was a report that broke. If so,
I think so.
I hate that so much. I love Mike Tirico. And I think NBC's got to do better. I really do, because, again, not because of Breeze, but with the leaving of Tirico, whether it was money, whatever the case is, right? One of the best broadcasters out there, personally, I think. And then you bring in Jason Garrett. I don't understand. I really don't. It really wasn't, too much to, I guess, dive into, because, again, you look for enthusiasm in the booth, and Garrett does not bring that at all.
You can't hate on Jason Garrett for the way he coached on the sideline. I mean, he was an NFL head coach, and notably for the Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
Anybody who works for the Cowboys is automatically box office. He was there, and they were somewhat successful.
Yeah.
They didn't win anything notable, but while he was under the helm, they won one of their very few playoff wins that they've gotten since the last time they won a Super Bowl 25 years ago.
Right.
So, I mean, that's actually something. And if you look at the other head coaches that actually came from the sidelines into the booth, Tony Dungy kills it. Jimmy Johnson kills it. John Gruden, everybody was waiting on Chucky to commentate. Eric Mangini, Bill Cowher, John Madden. I mean, these guys, the coaches, they come in and they give an insight. And for everyone who was like, everyone loves Tony Romo in the booth.
He crushes it.
Tony Romo killed the booth like that. I would assume that Jason Garrett should be better at it than him. He was not allowed to talk. He was a yes man. He had Jerry Jones coming down from the booth, down to the sideline, telling him what to do. You let Jason Garrett get into the booth and actually have his time to shine where he can be heard and actually let us know how much he knows about the game of football.
I respect it.
I think he's going to bring a great deal of perspective from the coaching side and really inform us as fans as to what he's seeing. If Tony Romo is able to call plays like that, Jason Garrett should be able to call out the schemes and be like, this is what they're going to do in the second half because I see what's happening out here and I know what they're going to say in the second half. Like in the locker room at halftime, he should be able to give us so much to the point where Jason Garrett could possibly become one of your favorite commentators because he knows so much. It's like, before you condemn him, I think you should really, really give this guy a super chance. And for NBC, it's a ratings game.
Right.
That's all they're in it for.
Big
That's
time.
what the business is.
Right.
You bring in a former Cowboys head coach, that's going to get ratings, instant draw. Doesn't matter whether you love him because you're a Cowboys fan or you hate him because you hate the Cowboys, you're going to tune in to see if he fails or if he's really good.
Right.
If he bombs, they replace him. If he's great, they'd be like, hey, good call. One season, not going to cost them anything.
Right.
But I think that the Jason Garrett, like that I can't even think of the word to call it, the acquisition, there we go, of Jason Garrett. Mm-hmm. I think for NBC, that is a major move. I actually like it.
Heard on that. I'm very shocked, but I respect everything you said. Very good points there.
I'm looking forward to listening to see what he has to say in the booth.
Yeah. Damn, better be than Breeze. Better be better than Breeze, dude. Shoot.
I mean,
we'll see, though.
Legendary player doesn't mean you can talk.
Right. Baby boring coach means you can. We'll see. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a boring coach just from what we see on the sideline. We don't know. I mean, Bill Belichick seems like the most boring coach in the history of life. But if you talk to any player that played in New England, they're like, he's one of the coolest dudes they've ever met. So that doesn't actually hold water with the coaches. They give you what they want you to see.
Yeah.
So we'll move. We're going to change pages all the way back to the NBA, back to the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics have been knocking on that doorstep of title number 18 for 4 whole years now. So my question to you is, can this Celtics team make it out of the East again next year against a healthy Milwaukee Bucks, a healthy Miami Heat, and a healthy Brooklyn Nets? Or was this their one shot at it?
Oh, man. So make it out of the East again. No, because you're going to have the Bucks, you're going to have the Heat in front of you clearly. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, I think, will improve. I think they will be coached up, obviously, by their coach in the coming year. But, when you look at the duo of, obviously, Giannis, a top player right now, and Chris Middleton, a guy who can go off at any point in the game, and especially if Miami acquires another piece, because we know when Jimmy Butler is healthy, he can be, one of the best players in the league, no question about it. Tyler Hero clearly broke out. Sixth man of the year last year. Not really worried about the Nets because there's a lot of noise right now about Kyrie and what's obviously going to happen. Maybe if he fixes his vaccination status that we're really concerned about, or if it gets peeled back or whatever, and he's actually able to play more, of course, than he did last year, then they could be a problem. But especially when it comes to the right, when it comes to the Bucks and the Heat. No, I don't think that's someone that they're going to be able to pass because, assuming that they're both healthy, because they had to go to 7 games against the Heat. They had to go to 7 games against the Bucks without a Chris Middleton, with basically a one-legged Jimmy Butler. I don't want to say this was their one shot at it, but I know I was saying on, previous shows, like, it's lined up for you. It's here. You got to go get it, especially with the way I thought Golden State was playing in previous series. Clearly, they put that to bed. Clearly, they played better than Boston, and they played better. They played like the best team in the NBA. They're champions. But yeah, make it out of the East. No, I think there'll still be a higher seed, but I also can't say it was just their one shot to make it. But it is going to take a ton of work considering how healthy the East will be next year.
Last year they were the 2 seed. They started off really slow. Right. I don't think next year that they'll start nearly as slow as they did last year. So if they piggyback off of this season, making it to the finals, learn from what they did, I don't think they should have any problem actually securing a number 1 seed going into the playoffs next year in the East. The only issue with it is, just like you mapped out, it took them 7 games to beat a Chris Middleton-less Milwaukee Bucks team. As far as the Miami Heat, the one-legged Jimmy Butler, I think that is actually the Heat. Jimmy Butler has a knee inflammation issue, which basically is very similar to the arthritic knee that Todd Gurley has. When he's ready, he can go. When he's not, he has to just be a facilitator, and he really shouldn't even be out there. Jimmy's just not good for a whole 7-game series. When he's ready, you can't stop him. Can't do anything with him. So I think they still could beat Miami. It's the Bucks that are a problem. The Nets, they're already currently in trade talks. We're looking at whether or not Kyrie is going to be there or not next year.
Right.
Does the Nets have any good sense? They'll go ahead and pay Kyrie because you can't afford to lose him. You're not getting anything in return for him that is going to justify you getting rid of him. Even though you think you might be overpaying, you're going to lose if you don't pay him. So let's say pay Kyrie Irving. You've already taken the flyer on Ben Simmons, so you're just going to have to figure out what he is. Pay Kyrie, figure out what Ben's doing, keep KD. You've got shooters. You have Seth Curry out there. You also have Harris. They have the requisite pieces. If Brooklyn keeps their team intact and comes out and has a healthy 2022-2023 season, then the Nets can be a problem. The only reason the Nets are kind of a question mark is we don't know what they're going to do. If Kyrie is out there, who are they going to play in the first round? They need an easy first-round game because the first round of the playoffs falls on a Ramadan, and you've got Kyrie fasting. He's eating fruit cups and bananas in the fourth quarter to try to get some energy back. How are you going to overcome that in the first round of the playoffs if you're having to play a team like Miami?
Yep.
Or you're having to play Boston? Or you have to turn around and play Milwaukee? You can't beat them without a full-strength Kyrie. It's not any shade to him, but just it is what it is. If that's what's happening around that time of year, do you have a means to get past having a fraction of Kyrie until that season is over?
Right.
So, all things being considered, they're not better than the Bucks when they're full strength. They squandered away the opportunity this season in the finals. So, next year, I think the Boston Celtics ceiling is the Eastern Conference Finals, with them possibly being eliminated in the second round, depending on who they have to play.
Can't forget about Philly either.
No, Philly's not in it.
Well, I think they'll still be a respectable team in the East if James Harden says he's going to come back. But no, I think it's further than James Harden. I think they got to make a move.
They might make the playoffs, but they're not better than any of the teams that we mentioned.
Not better than the Bucks or the Heat, but they could be better than the Nets and maybe the Celtics.
They're not better than either of them.
We'll see.
They have one guy, but they're not better than either of those teams.
Joel.
They're not better than either of those teams. No, if you're willing to pick them, then maybe you might actually make a bet. Because the Nets are beating no one.
You mean the Sixers are beating no one?
Oh, yeah, the Sixers.
Heard.
Ridiculous. So, man, we've already hit 8:45.
We can't look over them.
We're going to throw this thing to Mike Beasley one time, and when we come back, we're going to have to take a look at the 21st century and see if this is just absolutely the greatest era in sports that we've ever watched to date. Keep it locked.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Like always, you're watching Petty Sports Wednesday Night Edition like you do every week at 8 p.m. Standard Time. Sorry, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you are watching Adam, Famous Facts Fees, all brought to you by Post 880 Radio. Type in Post 880 Radio in your Google search and vibe out. You know, it's a 24/7 internet radio station, the heartbeat of the South. And we will greatly appreciate your support over there and sharing the love also, all right? Go to your favorite podcast platform of choice and download the shows there on Apple, iHeart, Google, Spotify, all the good platforms, you know what I'm saying, and listen to some of the previously aired shows. Call in 678-871-9602. We have absolutely 1 hour and 13 minutes left in the show tonight, so be a part of it. We love to hear from you. 678-871-9602. Thank you so much for tuning in. Keep sharing the link and keep that chat room jumping. All right, ATL Hope.
Yes, sir. As promised, we're going to jump right back in. The 21st century. Sorry, Cowboys fans. This doesn't involve you. Y'all have not seen the Super Bowl since then. The 21st century, I believe, has been the greatest era in sports, period. And if you don't believe me, we're just going to run down some of the most dominant teams that we've ever seen across all sports platforms. We'll start off with my man Floyd Money Mayweather. 50-0. Been fighting since 1996. Never lost a fight. Beat all the great fighters of his era. I mean, he took out Oscar De La Hoya, Manny Pacquiao, Canelo Alvarez, Miguel Cotto, Sugar Shane Mosley, Zab Judah, Arturo Gatti, Ricky Hatton, Juan Manuel Marquez, Marcos Maidana. I mean, there's so many people on his hit list. 21 years, 50 wins, 0 losses. One of the most dominant fighters we've ever seen. Look at Tiger Woods. Won all 4 golf majors. Only player to ever win all 4 consecutively. Tied for first in PGA Tour wins. Second in majors. Ranked number 1 in the world for more consecutive weeks and more total weeks than any other golfer in history, longest winning streak in tour history, and coined the Tiger Slam by winning all 4 consecutively. We had Serena Williams, 23 Grand Slam titles, first all time, won titles over her sister, Martina Hingis, Jennifer Capriati, Justine Henin, Victoria Azarenka, Maria Sharapova, and pretty much everybody who actually trusted herself to step on the tennis court with Serena. We had the big 3 on the men's side with Rafael Nadal, Roger Federer, and Novak Djokovic. 62 Grand Slam titles between the 3 of them. That's how they got the title. These are far and away the best 3 tennis players that men's tennis has ever seen in the sport. We got the New England Patriots run of Super Bowls from 2001 to 2018. 9 trips to the Super Bowl, 6 wins, tied for the most all time. Like we talking about since the very beginning of the NFL, we have a stretch of 18 years where a team tied every team to ever play. Won 14 division titles, produced the best quarterback, coach, and tight end of all time, along with the kicker, in one stretch, had an undefeated season, called it the Patriot way. You've got Brady on his own, who went to 10 Super Bowls, won 7, winning his quarterback in NBA or NFL history. We'll skip the rest of his accolades, not necessary. Nick Saban in Alabama, 6 national championships with Bama, 1 with LSU. We watched Nick surpass Bear Bryant as the winningest coach in college history, starting with the 2003 co-national championship at LSU. and then yielding 6 more to take that crown. We saw Usain Bolt as the greatest sprinter of all time, holds the world record of the 100, the 200, and the 4x100 relay. We watched Michael Phelps rack up 28 medals, most decorated Olympian of all time, most golds of all time with 23. And then there's the NBA. That's the only place that's tricky. None of the NBA stretches we saw were the greatest that we've ever seen in the NBA. We had some great stretches, but the 96 Bulls, the 90s Bulls winning 6 titles in 8 years, pretty much that trumps everything that's happened in the 21st century for any one basketball team. Yeah. And then there's obviously the 60s Celtics winning 9 titles from 1960 to 1969, only losing in 1967. But we did have some crazy runs in there. Mm-hmm. There have been 3 dynasties since 2000. We watched the 2000 Lakers. They won 5 titles in 10 years. Yep. The Spurs got 4 titles in 11. Yep. I say 4 and 11 because I'm not counting 98 because we're starting from 2000 before somebody gets in the comments and says something stupid. We got the Golden State Warriors punching their ticket with 4 titles in 8 years. And then there's LeBron on his own with 4 titles in 9 years across 3 teams. Yep. So, all in all, in the 2000s, I don't think you can argue that there has been a better era of sports.
Yeah, I agree with you. I highly agree with you. When you factor in tennis, you even look at some of the Phillies teams, talking about baseball a little bit here, you look at some of the Phillies teams in the 2000s through the 2010s, the Roy Halladay days, the Jimmy Rollins days. Clearly the Yankees, they've been a top team in baseball as well, even after the century has turned also. Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo. When you really start to look deep into some of these things, you could talk about Nadal, Federer, and Djokovic. Like, that could kind of be just the one to maybe push it a little further. That's literally like Manning, Brady, and I guess you could throw whoever else in there for the third that are just always battling to be at the top. So, you laid it all out there, Fees. I definitely think this is the best era in sports by far. And, look at the hands that the NFL is in right now with the quarterback class. Look at it. The NBA is not as strong. And, Major League Baseball is not as strong either. But when you look at the talent that's about to come into the NFL and that's already been drafted, rookies, sophomores, third year in, the league's in very good hands. So I don't think I need to say anymore. You laid it all out there perfectly. I definitely think this has been the best sports era, without question.
Oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure there might be some hockey or baseball accolades that...
Right. Like if you put Wayne Gretzky in the 2000s, over with.
Well, there actually are some that are left out, and my bad. I'm gonna go back and actually give them their shine because I don't want anything to think. Don't think that I'm being biased. I actually just skipped over it. I missed it as I was reading over the accolades. The UConn women, their basketball team completely dominated the 2000s. We're talking about Anderson Silva. We got John Bones Jones. We've jumped across so many sports, even the Tennessee women before the UConn women. Yep. There's so many different eras of just pure and complete domination that we've seen in the 2000s. Mm-hmm. This stuff hasn't happened. All of it has been in the 21st century.
Yep. You talk about some of the other boxers as well, like Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder. You've got... who's that ridiculous? Obviously, Gervonta Davis. Who's that other dude? I can't remember his name right now. It's like right on the tip of my tongue. Obviously like Billy Joe Saunders, Canelo Alvarez. Like, you start to get deeper into some of these things, and the talent just gets better every year. These athletes just get better every year. Technology makes it better to see everything, and we're just exposed to more of the greatness here, truly, after the century has turned. It's almost like if you can't see it as that, I feel bad because you're literally missing out on greatness at this point.
Literally, like when you start talking basketball, if you go top 5 in every position, I guarantee you at least 3, if not 4 of the 5 played all, if not 90% of their career in the 2000s.
That's going to get some heads turning right there. That one right there is going to be the statement.
The only position that doesn't stand true is center. Point guard through power forward, they're all the new guys. mean, we're looking at.
So wait, are you saying like dream team 1 through 5, like best to ever play the position?
Yeah.
I know you don't mean that.
We're talking about, no, I say, after I say at least 3 to 4 of the top 5 ever at the position played in this era.
Top 5 ever at the position. Okay, I thought you meant like best point guard, best shooting guard. I was like, damn, I know I'm understanding that differently, but no, that I can agree with, definitely.
No, man, like if you're looking at 2 guards, you're going to go MJ. Okay, that doesn't make it really into this era. He only played a couple of years in the 2000s.
Right.
But then you got Kobe, you got Wade. Maybe you want to say Iverson or you want to say James Harden. Doesn't really matter which way you want to go, even if you're a Ray Allen guy. All of these guys played in the 2000s.
Yep.
The entire gambit of the list. Small forwards, same thing. KD, LeBron. Like, okay, there's Larry Bird. Some people have Scottie Pippen that high. He's not that high for me.
No.
He's not a top 5 small forward. He's probably the best Robin that we've ever seen.
Right.
That doesn't put him that high on that list. But I would challenge you to go all the way down from point guard to center. And I'm not going to fight you on center because there really aren't centers in the league anymore. Outside of the position of center,
Athletic power forwards. They can
point
shoot.
guard to power forward, the top 5, at least 3, if not 4, of your top 5 played in the 21st century for the majority of their careers. And I'll stand all the way on that.
Saipan Brad. What's up, brother?
But we haven't seen you in a long time.
I know. I think like twice, maybe 3 times since he's been on.
You're not talking about the Buffalo Bills. He ain't coming on.
I know, man. We got a lot of great debates. We talked about Curry. We talked about Curry, excuse me, going through all this right here, of course. Man, you tuned into a great show tonight. Great to have you, Brad. Call. Keep commenting. We love to have you in, bro.
Yeah, so check this out. Since we got a few minutes before we get to the top of the hour, I know Adam thought that I just skipped the question. I just held on to it. I'm still going to put you on this cross right here. I know you picked the Celtics to win it all this year. What's your confidence on a scale of 1 to 10 for them getting it done next year?
So winning the finals.
Yeah.
Probably go a 7. You're obviously going to have the Heat. I think the Heat realize the state that the East is in right now, and I think they're going to make a move to bring someone in to be that 2 or that consistent 3 to Jimmy Butler. Clearly the Bucks, we talked about them. Don't get mad at me about the Sixers as well. But yeah, I think ceiling of like 8, but I'm at about a 7 right now because they're going to have to get coached up. They're going to have to, because it's not like the first time that they go to the finals or the second time that they go, they're going to win. We saw how long it took so many players and so many teams to do it in the past. They still got a lot of experience ahead of them to get to the mountaintop. Sorry, camera's actually this way. But yeah, I would say about a 7 or an 8 out of 10 right now for the Celtics walking into next year. Getting it done, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, we should get a running calculator on how many times you ran from that Golden State bet.
I think about 7.
I told you they were going to win.
With a couple, come on, bro. Come on.
And I told you they win in 6.
Fizo's literally like, like when you hang the treat in front of an animal's face, but you don't let him have it. That was literally Fizo. Like, you can have it if you want, but you really can't because I'm going to win anyways. No, I respect it, though, bro. Great call. You damn near called all the games. And Golden State, again, they clearly showed why they were the best. You know I won't run from facts, man. It sucks that I called them out so heavily and they lost and kind of got embarrassed on the back end, but Golden State was better.
You knew that they were. We went down. We went position for position, 1 through 6.
He did everything to set me up.
And we ranked them. You took Golden State 4-2 from the point guard to the 6th man. It was like, yep, they got 4 better matchups in this series than Boston does, but I'm going to take the Celtics.
I love it. I love it. Oh, Fees, you are so great, man. You have lured me perfectly into this whole scenario.
Your matchups were the same as the outcome of the series, 4-2.
I know. Literally, bro. Literally. I think Tatum and Brown were the only 2 that I took. Everyone else I took. Yeah, I took Steph, I took Draymond, I took Looney, and clearly I took Jordan Poole as well. So yeah, I'm a smile over there, having a little victory. I know they were good, bro. I'm not going to run from it, man. Look, the biggest thing to me is when I saw the second the second round of the playoffs and then the conference finals for Golden State and the way that we're playing against that talent, that's what concerned me. I knew that they were a good team, but the way they were playing at the time, I didn't believe that they would be able to go all the way. They clearly obliterated that the last 3 wins of the NBA Finals, and like you said, they're the big dogs again.
Yeah, but like even in Game 5, they didn't play all that well. It was exactly what I had been saying all the way through the playoffs. Golden State is the only team in the league that's capable of winning games when their team doesn't play particularly well. When you're able to steal games like that, it's damn near impossible to beat a team in a series because they don't have to show up every night to beat you.
Right. That is grossly amazing also to know that like that was literally a theme of Golden State. It was. I just didn't think it would be able to translate all the way to the finals.
16 points out of Curry, and they still beat you.
Yeah.
They don't have to show up every night to beat you.
Nope. They don't. Credit to that coaching, that experience, that defense. I mean, Golden State stepped up very, very big, and they should be the betting favorites right now walking into next year. I don't think there's a question about that.
Oh, they are. So, man, we've reached the top of the hour. When we come back, we're going to chop it up about the NBA draft that's popping off tomorrow night. I told you we still got to talk about Rob Gronkowski. You know, the man retired for the second time. And we got the AFC West. So all of you fans of AFC West teams, make sure y'all keep it locked because we're going to let y'all know what's going to happen. Mike Beasley, let them know who pays the bills in this piece.
Appreciate that. Facts, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in like always. You know what it is. Petty Sports Wednesday night edition with Famous Facts Fees, Adam Lewis, KINGZ Broadcasting Crew, Petty Sports doing what they do. You know what I'm saying? Call a friend, neighbor, co-worker, text a friend, neighbor, co-worker, and let them know the guys are owning at the table doing what they do. Like always, bring you the latest and greatest in the sports world, all right? All of this is brought to you by Post 880 Radio, which is a 24/7 internet radio station that you can just tune in at any time. Type it in your Google search box and just vibe out, man. You know what I'm saying? There's always something playing 24/7 that I know you can get with. All right, so share the link, share the love, and support black business. You know what I mean? So thank you, like always, for tuning in, sharing the link for the show here live on Fedbook, Book of Face, YouTube, all that, man. You know what I'm saying? Subscribe. Continue to share the link. Go to your favorite podcast platform of choice. Download some of the earlier shows or just listen to some of the earlier and previously aired shows. And this show tonight will air in a couple of days over there, so stay tuned for that. You can also go to Boxcast. That's an absolutely free app on your smart TV. Boxcast. And download that app, and you can watch from KINGZ Broadcasting, Petty Sports, right over there on your smart TV in your she shed or your man cave. All right, so thank you for that right there. Subscribe over on the YouTube page. Hit the notification bell. Drive those numbers up over there. You know what I'm saying? We would greatly appreciate that. You know what I mean? Like I said, you go to your Apple, Google, iHeart, Spotify, all that right there, man. Hit the QR code on the screen. You can see the different links where you can keep up with KINGZ Broadcasting and Post 880 Radio and whatever's going on here in the company, all right? And thank you. Like always, you could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're right here with the fellas at the table making it do what it do. You can call in at 678-871-9602, 678-871-9602. We greatly appreciate it. What's up out there, Brad? Hanging out on your way back to Saipan. I hear you, man. What is the Northern Mariana Islands over that way like that? Something. Yo, appreciate it, man. Been a minute. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Keep that chat room jumping. Continue to show the love over on KINGZ Broadcasting. Support black business by buying some merch over there, all right? You know what I'm saying? And hitting the donate button. No donation is too large or small. We greatly appreciate them all right? And continue to support black business, support black business because we do ATL.
Thank you so much, Mike Bell. We appreciate you. 9:04 p.m. Eastern time here in Atlanta, Georgia, here on Petty Sports, the podcast. Brought to you by King's Broadcasting Studios and Pulse 880 The Beat. Check the QR code on the screen. You'll hit all of our content. You'll see the radio station. You'll see the website where you can go get some merch as well. Call the show. I think it's been about 5 or 6 weeks since we had a caller. 678-871-9602. Don't be too afraid. We've got plenty of topics. Talk what we're talking about. Talk what you want to talk about. It doesn't matter. But we'll go ahead and get into the second half of the show. So tomorrow night, Fees, the NBA draft will bring us what some people say, well, they will be the next set of NBA prospects. But the question is, are they actually going to be able to provide when they step into the league? What team or teams do you think can make the biggest moves for their franchise with this draft tomorrow?
I mean, I think I'm going to take a stance on this that most folks will be like, that doesn't even make sense. I think the biggest move of the draft is going to be with the 28th pick of the draft because this player, for whatever reason, is not being projected to actually even be drafted. Wow. Which is, it's mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
I think with the 28th pick in the NBA draft, the Golden State Warriors are going to select Johnny Juzang from UCLA, who for whatever reason is not on anyone's draft board to be drafted in either of the 2 rounds. The dude is 6'7", 215. He's a 2-guard. He can come straight in, completely take over your second team, and you've got guys like Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins looking to get bigger contracts, possibly have other teams poaching them away. If you're getting rid of a guy that's producing like that coming off your bench, if you're to bring someone like Johnny in, he could absolutely replace the production of someone like a Jordan Poole or Brandon Wiggins. I don't know if he plays defense like Wiggins, but he could absolutely come in and do what Poole does. You give him that kind of green light when he walks in the game, it's like, just come in and score. If he's really being underlooked to that extent, if you remember, you watched this dude the last 2 years at UCLA, averaged over 16 points a game, carried UCLA. Y'all watched the NCAA tournament for the last 2 years in March Madness.
Yep.
He damn near took them to a national title back-to-back years behind his scoring.
Yep.
This dude is a bona fide scorer. The fact that he's not on anyone's draft board is mind-blowing to me. And a team like Golden State, and as smart as how they actually draft and develop players, I think if he's still sitting there in the first round that far back, this dude should be a top 10 pick without question. If he's able to drop all the way to 28 and the Warriors are to pick him up and then don't actually even have to rely on him to do anything except for bolster a second unit with a young and up-and-coming team, like they have 2 teams. They've got a veteran starting lineup and a younger unit behind them that's poised to take over and keep that machine rolling. So I think that Johnny coming in for the Warriors, that would be the biggest move of the draft because that would dictate the way that Golden State will continue to control the face of the NBA moving forward, having guys like Juzang, Poole, Kuminga, Looney, Moody, Wiggins, in addition to your veteran players moving forward. Like that's a transition that's almost not fair.
Yeah. Yeah, and I kind of forgot about Johnny Juzang for a minute, but I remember in the last couple tournaments, he was definitely a big talk around that UCLA team, just how they were playing overall, the type of moves they were able to make, and he stepped up big in quite a few games. So, you know, mentioning that he carried them, definitely true. When I take a look at a couple of guys here in the NBA draft, obviously Paolo Banchero, power forward out of Duke, freshman, I think he could be a guy that at the San Antonio Spurs, I think that would be a very good landing spot for him. If the Spurs can manage to land him, because I don't think really anyone right now needs a front court. Well, maybe not anyone, but the Spurs need a front court. They need presence up there. They understand that, you know, that's something that you clearly have to have in order to become a higher seed, especially in the West with Greg Popovich, of course. You know, and when you take a look at the fact that the way he was able to complement the other people at Duke, the way he was able to fit into their scheme, you look at some of that with San Antonio, and, you know, you hope that Pop could coach him up, that he'd have some other players out there, that would be able to benefit him really. And the great thing is, over his last 14 games, he averaged 4.1 assists. So that could also give the Spurs maybe like a second playmaker, another guy out there that could supplement, losing Derek White, obviously, to the Celtics at that time. I think that would be the best landing spot for Paolo Banchero, would be the San Antonio Spurs. And he could even be, a fact of slipping into a high usage role, maybe at the 4 spot, and just really benefiting San Antonio, because we know they're kind of talent stricken. It hasn't been necessarily pretty ever since some of their stars got out of there. I feel like obviously some people are kind of just waiting to see what's going to happen with Pop. And then obviously there's a lot of talk around Chet Holmgren right now. Super skinny dude, 7 foot. Some people think he can really play. Some people think he can't play. One thing I do know, though, is against lower competition, he balls out, which, anybody's going to do that. That's clearly a good athlete. But when the competition was at his level, or if not better, he struggled to create offense for himself. He really struggled to actually get out there and make plays and show people that, hey, I can be one of the higher picks in this draft. When you look at OKC, they've got the number 2 pick in the draft. When you talk about Chet possibly going to them, you look at the schemes that they have, kind of how they like to run their offense. And if you can put Chet in that system, you don't have to depend on him majorly, but you get a guy in there who can obviously make jump shots. You got Gilgeous-Alexander, who can really kind of be I want to make sure I'm talking about the right player here. Yes, not with Chet, but Gilgeous-Alexander. You've got him over there, obviously, that can try to create some plays for him and maybe help him slide into that scheme as well, which, again, you don't want a guy that's very, very frail, clearly needs to put weight on, coming into a team like OKC, being in a tough Western Conference, definitely having to perform well. You don't want him to have all the pressure. So I think if OKC could land Chet Holmgren, Jesus, or if San Antonio could land Paolo Banchero, I think that would be fairly solid. But the big question, and I feel like this is why the NBA kind of struggles at times, because out of, there's only 40 picks in the draft, or excuse me, is it 40 or 60? I think it's 60, right?
We're looking at 58.
50, okay, yeah, because I think actually a couple teams had forfeited their picks, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so when you look at the fact that, there's very, very few players that go to the league, the NBA draft kind of struggles to put out stars a lot. Do you think there's any star in this class that could walk right in and just kind of have that John Morant kind of vibe, just boom, like he's great immediately?
No, actually, I don't think any of them can, just for the mere fact that the players that have potential to at least make a splash on their way in, be it Jabari Smith or a Chet Holmgren or even a Banchero, they're going to teams that are so bad.
Yeah.
They're going to lose a lot.
Good old draft lottery.
They may put up points, but I don't see any of them actually walking into the NBA and making moves to the point where we're like, oh, this is the guy. They got to build a team around them.
Yeah.
I mean, they can come in and be viable players. I mean, they can actually be like mid-level stars, but I don't see anyone coming in making a mark to do like what we saw out of Ja Morant or an Anthony Edwards or even Zion while he was healthy. There are no prospects like that coming out of this draft.
Not at all.
Like, this is basically just a bench building draft.
Right.
So for the teams that are picking high, it's like, man, good luck. This ain't it. Like, you're going to have to look to free agency. These guys that you're picking high in the draft are going to need to complement whoever it is that you're able to land in a major free agent deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't think there's any guy that you look at, whether it's the eye test, whether it's the numbers, whether, it's the potential that he has. Like you said, just looking at that one player that it's like, yeah, whoever picks him up, he's going to step in, he's going to start, he's going to provide, 15, 20 points as a rookie. I just don't think there's any type of talent truly in this draft. Maybe the player that you just mentioned there, maybe a Johnny Juzang. But it's not a surefire lock, and again, that's where I think that the NBA kind of struggles to keep up with some of these other sports is we know the draft can be kind of lullified. But, when you're not putting out a lot of talent, and hell, it's like, if you think about it, like 95% of NBA draft prospects are a bust, never get re-signed. Like, they just don't get the spotlight. And that's because of how few players are actually going into the league. But let us know what y'all think about the NBA draft. It's had a little bit of pull, on YouTube and Facebook and everything, but we definitely wanted to address it, talk about some of those prospects out there. Now on to Rob Gronkowski, who has recently taken to social media kind of by surprise to everybody and has officially retired again for the second time. We obviously know what Gronk has done, being with Brady in New England, being with Brady in Tampa, 4 Super Bowls, ridiculous numbers in the regular season and in the postseason. Fees, where do you have Rob Gronkowski on your all-time tight end list?
All-time tight end list, Rob Gronkowski sits at number 1. I thought he was at number 1 before when he retired the first time, but he since came back, added more yards, more catches, more touchdowns, and another Super Bowl to his resume.
Right.
But if we just take a look into what Rob Gronkowski actually did in the NFL, he's 5th all-time in yards for tight ends at 9,286, 10th all-time in receptions, 14th all-time in targets. So now you look at, he was not targeted as much as the others, but he got more catches. He's 3rd all-time in touchdowns and 19th in games played. That is the piece that really boosts him over the rest of these guys. So when you look at Tony Gonzalez, he's at the top of most of the tight end stats. That's usually the person that you'll get when you say, who's the best tight end you ever saw play? Everybody goes for Tony G. But look at how he stacks up with Gronk if we even up the games.
Yep.
Tony Gonzalez played in 270 games. Gronk played in 143. That's almost half.
Right.
Tony finished with 15,127 yards. If you gave Gronk another 127 games with his averages, he has 18,738 yards, which gives him almost 4,000 more yards than Tony Gonzalez, which is just a games played total career accomplishment stat.
Right.
Gronk averaged way more yards per game receiving. We look at the touchdowns. Tony Gonzalez had 111 touchdowns for his career, which is 2nd all-time behind Tony Gates. Antonio Gates had 116 touchdowns. Gronk is 3rd with 92. And it's like I told you, Gronk played almost half the games.
Yeah.
You got 111 for Tony Gonzalez, 116 for Antonio Gates, and 92 for Gronk, and he's 3rd. But he only played 143 games.
Right.
If you gave him the same amount of games as Antonio Gates, which is 236, that would give Gronk 151 touchdowns, which would have him far in first place for tight end touchdowns. If you gave him 270 games, the same as Tony Gonzalez, he'd have 173. I mean, he'd be up there sitting with Jerry Rice with his touchdowns if he had played as many games as these guys.
Right.
I mean, like the pace that he was scoring touchdowns at was at the same pace that Randy Moss was scoring touchdowns at. But this dude was playing tight end.
I saw a stat today. Gronk averaged a touchdown every 6.6 catches. That is insane to think about because he usually had about 5, 6, 7 catches a game. You know, he always accumulated for the yards. Brady was very comfortable. Brady had a 124 passer rating targeting Gronk over anybody else in his career. You got to think there's a lot of weapons.
Gronk is the guy. I mean, hell, Gronk has the 2nd most playoff receiving touchdowns, and that's not among tight ends.
Of all time.
That's playoff receiving touchdowns, period. He's 2nd to Jerry Rice all time.
Nuts.
4 Super Bowls.
I think he should have won Super Bowl MVP in his last one. Sorry, go ahead. My bad.
Nah, I mean, that might have been a bit much. I mean, Tony Gonzalez and Antonio Gates, they're the only 2 tight ends that even have a case against Gronk. Right. But this is the kicker, though. Neither of them blocked anyone their entire career. Mm-hmm. Well, you can debate about them being better pass catchers than Gronk, which Gronk's numbers are comparable, which when, just like I laid out, if he played as many games as them, his pass catching numbers may have been better. It's not a debate in any way, shape, or form that he is a far better blocker than both of them.
Right.
Tony Gonzalez never blocked anybody. And Antonio Gates was a mid-level. Like, he was an okay blocker. Rob Gronkowski was a far, far superior blocker to the point where he might be considered the best blocking tight end ever, in addition to having those receiving stats.
Yep.
I mean, the only tight end in the league today that has the skill set of a Rob Gronkowski is George Kittle.
Yeah.
For someone who can actually block and catch passes and take off and break games open, that's the only guy that I see that's close to even doing anything near what Gronkowski is doing. And if they let Trey Lance be his quarterback, he's not going to catch him.
Could be very true.
Where you got him at?
Yeah, number 1 as well. You clearly laid all the numbers out there. Gronk is an absolute monster. He has stepped up in, a lot of big games, a lot of big championship games, a lot of big Super Bowls. I mean, the size, the speed. I know the durability was never his thing. And that's another thing, too. Imagine if Gronk had been healthy. Like, imagine if Gronk had been healthy this entire time. I know he hasn't been, like, brittle, but obviously his body's been going a little bit, and he made the decision initially to retire because he thought he was broken down. But the size, the speed, like, he is so insanely hard to take down. I mean, the first defender never takes Gronk down. It's always a stiff arm, running over you, whatever the case may be. Second all-time in postseason receiving touchdowns is absolutely insane. Gronk is a monster. He literally has a postseason resume like some people have regular seasons as wide receivers. And that's what is insane. I think it's over 80 catches, over 1,100 yards, over 10 touchdowns. Like, that's what best receivers in the game, or obviously, maybe third, fourth, fifth best receivers in the game are reeling in per season. This guy's done all this in the postseason. So that shows the longevity of how long he's been in it. I don't think there's any question that Gronk is number one. And I know everybody's going to hop in, Tony Gonzalez had 5, 6, or 7 different quarterbacks. Could have chose left. Could have chose to leave. Clearly went to Atlanta. And I'm not going to sit here and be shallow with that comment, obviously, but we can't hold greatness back because of who they played with. It's just like when people say, you can't give it to Wills or you can't give it to these guys. They didn't decide who they played against. They had it in front of them and they dominated.
Prime example in that whole debate, if you're going to hold playing with Brady against Gronk, then you're also going to have to hold playing with Joe Montana against Jerry Rice. How can you not do both?
Yeah, I agree. I highly agree. I don't like diminishing greatness when it's clearly in front of us. Obviously, TJ could be number 2, number 3, whatever you want to say. Clearly, Antonio Gates, Ozzie Newsome, Kellen Winslow, those guys are up there, of course. But when you talk about postseason impact, stepping up in the big game, and just look at his numbers. It's absolutely insane. And, of course, I agree. Tony had to do it a lot of a harder way. Other quarterbacks, that's great. He's still fantastic. But, unfortunately, he never got the chance to get in the postseason. Obviously, if he did, we'd be having a different conversation. But what we do know is this is Gronk. These are his numbers, and this is what he truly did. How much of a blow, though, do you think it is, Feast, to the Bucs' Super Bowl chances with Gronkowski retiring?
I think it is a blow. I don't think it's a huge blow.
Right.
Definitely that's the end of Tom Brady's safety blanket because he's been throwing that ball to Gronk. He definitely needed him in year 1. I don't think so much now because Cameron Brady's still there. He's been in there. This will be year 3 with Brady.
Yep.
They drafted 2 tight ends because they probably were bracing for him to leave, especially since they let O.J. Howard go.
Yep.
And they brought in Russell Gage. Chris Godwin will be back. Mike Evans is still a huge target. I don't really think that this is going to hurt them as much as it would have if he had never come in the first place. But it sounds like we got a caller. Who was on the line? What's your name? Where you calling from?
Oh.
Brad.
Hey, is it Rhoda Brad?
It is Rhoda Brad. I'm only here for about another 40 minutes before we fly back to Saipan.
Well, how about that, man? You'll be
All right,
flying
Rhoda
back as the
Brad.
show's over.
What's on your mind?
Well, hey, fellas, I heard you talking all this NFL stuff about tight ends. First of all, I got to make sure that everybody knows, even though he didn't play for the Bills, Rob Gronkowski, pride of Buffalo. So, shouts to him. For my
All 8 of them.
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you, you mentioned a couple of guys who had those better stats. You talked about Gonzalez, and then you talked about Gates. 2 monsters that played, sure. But neither of them played with the Hubble telescope covering up their elbow. That gigantic arm brace that he had. That's a handicap right there going out there. Still extending and making plays happen.
Using it to, bow dudes over?
His hand was so big, he made it look like the ball was like a tennis ball, and that huge brace on his arm didn't even bother him.
Right.
Yeah, that guy's hand looks like the claw in all those machines where you try to win the prizes. The only difference is those little prizes don't slip through those little nimble metal fingers.
The claw.
But I definitely wanted to call and say hey to you guys because I haven't called in for a while. I got my buddy Travis. He's in the car right now. We're just heading over to the airport, and he's listening to you for the first time. Trey's the guy who told me about these guys, and they're awesome. So he's going to be your new listener, viewer, everything from out here in the Marianas too, because you guys are legit.
Okay,
Hey,
I know you're a Bills fan. Who's your team, Travis?
Oh, Vikings all the way. Cool.
The Vikings.
Let's go.
This is why we get along so great.
We're getting by terror.
Yeah, we get along so great because we both got 0-4 Super Bowl seasons.
Damn, but the Vikings, I mean, they're not bad, but they're not good either.
That's Kirk Cousins right there.
Yeah.
You like that?
Well, we could probably win a Super Bowl at Josh Allen.
No.
Oh my God.
It's all good. Neither one of you are winning a Super Bowl. Not happening. Not the Bills. Not the Vikings. Y'all are going to stay over. It's okay. We're still going to talk about your teams, though.
Man.
Hey, we'll take it. We'll take it. But in the meantime, we're going to be checking in here. Got to drop the rental car off. Guys, love watching you, even though I don't call in that much because it's just busy here. Right. But still watch you guys, and it's great to see you.
Thank you so much,
appreciate
Brad.
you calling in, man. Hey, nice to meet you, Travis. Make sure you chime in, share the show, get in here and comment in the chat line.
Always feel free to call in. 678-871-9602. Gentlemen, we appreciate y'all getting on the line tonight. Y'all have a blessed one.
Brad, got a quick question for you, man. You still there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, where are you flying?
I am.
Where are you flying from to get back to Saipan?
Okay, so if you're looking at a map, this island is 80 miles south of Saipan. It is the island of Rota, spelled R-O-T-A.
Okay.
And I'm here for the 2022 Pacific Mini Games. It happens every 4 years. It's a scaled-down version of, like, the Olympics of the Pacific. And my wife and Travis's wife both represented our Commonwealth in the games for the sport of triathlon. And my wife got a bronze medal, which is legit.
Wow.
Yep.
That's nice, man.
Oh,
Okay.
congrats.
What's good, man? Yo, you got
So we're out here. I'll give one more plug before we go. One last plug just to follow up on that. Great athletes out here from Tahiti, New Caledonia, Fiji, the Solomon Islands, Guam, the CNMI, and Palau. And that's just for this race. But through the games themselves, we've also got, like, every nation out here is here. Like, Australia's out here. The Federated States of Micronesia is here. Vanuatu is here. Like, I'm not remembering all of them right now, but there's a ton of representation. Even Norfolk Island.
How long is the event? Is it 2 weeks?
It wraps up. Yeah, it's 2 weeks, and it's going to wrap up at the end of this week.
Nice.
So
Okay.
That's what's good, man.
It's crazy, man. It's really great.
All right, that's what's happening, man. I looked at where Saipan is on the map, and I saw Guam south of Saipan. So how far is Rota from there?
Perfect. So it's in between. So the next island north of Guam is Rota. It's 40 miles away.
Okay, I did see that. It sits on like the coast, the northwestern coast of the island.
Yeah, you got to keep going up. It's 40 miles up.
Okay, all right.
And it's even smaller.
Yeah, gotcha.
And the population here is about 1,500, and we brought in about like 200 people just for the game itself. So, you already got more than 10% of a population boost just for this week.
Wow.
Cool beans, man. That's what's good. Appreciate the call in, man, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.
Hell yeah, Brad. Take care, man.
Cheers. Be good, guys.
Yes, sir.
Hey, appreciate you calling in, man.
Brad and Travis, those dudes. First callers, and I don't know how long. Guys, never be afraid to call in. 678-871-9602. Y'all are always in the comments. Look, make it easier. You don't have to type. You just pick the phone up and talk. Unless you're afraid because you have Twitter fingers.
See, Mike Bell got him a South Pacific geography lesson tonight.
I know. He's like 40 miles here. You got to look at here. Pull up your whole map. I was like, damn, where is this? But good for him. Good for him. Way to plug the athletes out there, too. That's pretty awesome. We know.
Yeah. I mean, before we take the break, do you have a favorite Rob Gronkowski moment since he is leaving the game?
If I can think of one off the top of my head, it's probably when he runs up to Brady in the Super Bowl with the Bucks and he's like, 2 tutties? And he's like, yeah, and they're all excited and they're going crazy and everything. Or my favorite season would be a little bit easier from Gronk, because clearly his record-setting one, I think he had 1,700 yards and 17 touchdowns. That was just an insane tight end season. That's, again, what number one, number two receivers in the league are doing. So yeah, my favorite moment would probably be the Super Bowl with Brady, with the Bucks. Excuse me.
Okay, I mean, my favorite Gronk moment would have to be in the 2013 season when Denver came into New England. You remember this was the record-setting Denver offensive season when Peyton Manning threw for 55 touchdowns. Denver came into New England. It was a Sunday night game. Denver went up 24-0 in the first half. New England put up 21 points in the third quarter to storm back, but they were down 21-14. Brady threw a touchdown to Gronk, ran up to him right there, like they weren't even in the end zone. Like it was probably like maybe at the 10-yard line or something. The two of them, they were headbutting each other and yelling on the "Let's go!" Like they went insanely nuts in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
All of the Denver Bronco players were looking at him like, what the hell is wrong with them? What are they on?
4 championships together. That's what we on, brother.
It was one of those, I mean, at that point, they hadn't won any together.
Right.
I mean, this was 2013.
Right, like 3 years in the league, I think. Came in like 2010.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it was like they hadn't won any. It was like his first one was 2014 against Seattle.
Right.
It's like he had no championships yet, but they're in the middle of the field just going nuts, coming back from 24-0, and they walked them down, came back, took that game to overtime, and won by a field goal.
Wow.
That game was the whole reason why all Pats fans watched Super Bowl 51 and was like, we've seen this before.
Yeah.
We've been down by 24. We came back, and we took the game to overtime and won. Same scenario.
Ooh.
But
let them know.
That whole scene with Brady and Gronk, the way they went crazy in the middle of the field, is like you could literally see the fear that they struck across the entire field.
Yeah.
All of Denver was looking at them like, we can't stop them.
Right.
I really don't know what they're on.
Yeah. What are these guys doing?
It was one of those moments where it's like, yeah, whenever he throws on the ball, he's going to catch it. He's going to score when he wants to, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Right. And he's going to roll me over on the way to the end zone.
I mean, there's plenty of Gronk moments, but that one stands out for me.
Heard.
Just how it was like the culmination of the dominance before everybody really knew what Gronk was outside of just straight Pats fans.
Yep. Feel that, man. Love the Gronk moments. Let us know where y'all think Gronk lines up in the all-time tight end list. I do think it's a little bit of a blow also. I don't think it's going to be a major one, but we know that, Gronk is clearly Brady's safety blanket. It has been plenty of times now. Bell, we're going to throw it over to you for the 9:32 break. When we come back, Expectations versus Reality is back. We know y'all loved it. Diving into it for next year.
Yeah, appreciate that, Adam. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in like always. Excuse me, you could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're right here with the crew making you do what it do. Famous Facts Fees and Adam Lewis at the table going in like always. You heard the topics. They doing it, man. Thank you for tuning in like always. Keep sharing the show. Keep that chat room jumping. Keep the hotline, the petty sports line jumping as well. You know what I mean? So thank you. Like always, there will be no us. You know what I mean? I can't say that enough. We greatly appreciate you guys for tuning in, man, and staying loyal. And everybody that's sharing the show and the link, thank you so much. And if you're not, what you waiting on, man? Support black business, cause we do, you know what I mean? So feel free to call in. Anybody got 27 hot minutes left for the show. 678-871-9602. 678-871-9602. That's how you can be a part of the show tonight. Go to the different podcast platforms and join and listen and download the different shows that have already previously aired. And this one will be up in a couple of days. Subscribe over on the YouTube page. Petty Sports with a Z. Type it in. Hit the notification bell. Subscribe. So anytime the show goes hot, you will be notified. Thank you for continuing to drive the numbers over on the Facebook page, and go over to Twitch, Twitter, IG, TikTok. Content is over there as well, so continue to support. We appreciate it. Support black business, support black business, because we do ATL.
Thank you so much, Mike Bell, the greatest ad reader in the history. No, you know you much more than that, brother. We appreciate you with the burly voice over there on the radio, sir. But like we said, expectations versus reality is back, ladies and gentlemen. We know y'all absolutely love that. I think we did that from about July to September of last year. We were doing all the posts and everything. That's really what blew the YouTube up. Really a lot of our subs, a lot of our views. So we super appreciate y'all. Definitely wanted to give it back since y'all clearly loved it. We're going to start with the AFC West. Without a question, probably the hottest division in football after the insane offseason. Kansas City Chiefs went 12-5 and lost in the AFC title game to Cincinnati. Expectations versus reality. Fees. Go.
The Kansas City Chiefs blew the AFC Championship game last year to the Bengals. Let's not get it twisted. They had a massive lead, blew it exactly the same way they blew the game to the same Cincinnati Bengals in the regular season. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they proved that wasn't a fluke. I mean, they lost Tyreek Hill. They replaced him with Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, rookie Sky Moore. They still got McCole Hardman. Somehow Josh Gordon is still on the roster.
I know.
Don't understand how that works. But, I mean, they still got Pat Mahomes. They still got Travis Kelce. And they lost Tyrann Mathieu to the Saints. So the expectations are sky high in Kansas City. They won a Super Bowl. They went back. They lost that one. They were expecting business as usual. They were expecting a 12-win season at worst. They're expecting first place in the division that they've won for the past 6 seasons. Everyone talks about how teams dominate divisions. 6 straight seasons. The Kansas City Chiefs have won the AFC West. They're expecting it to be a 7th. They expect Kelce to produce even more than what he has in the past with the newcomers to do their job and basically take the next man up mantra for them in their future first round future first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback Pat Mahomes to make it work. You say eventually I got the tongue twister right. But the reality, the division has gotten so much better and them. They have seemingly regressed. It's really hard to respect that lofty expectation. Mm-hmm. They're going to start the season off in Arizona, which that'll be a win. Then they got the Chargers coming to them for their first home game. They'll beat them. They'll go 2-0. They'll beat the Cardinals and they'll beat the Chargers. Week 3 and week 4, they've got Tampa and Indy. They're going to lose both of those games. So they're going to be sitting at 2-2 and be like, I don't know what's really going on in Kansas City. But they're going to turn around. They'll beat the Raiders on Monday Night Football. They'll lose to the Bills. Then go on a run, 3 wins, San Francisco, Tennessee, Jacksonville, win all 3 of those. Yep. They'll lose to the Chargers in a rematch because, I mean, they are rivals. They always split. They're not going to sweep the Chargers.
Right.
They'll lose to the Chargers, lose to the Rams, and then they'll finally beat the Bengals in a game that means nothing because it's regular season. But they have a lot of ill will towards Cincinnati, so I think they will win that game. And then they'll turn around and lose to the Broncos. So now they're going to be sitting at 7-6 going into the last stretch of the season. But their last stretch of the season, they're going to win 3 straight. They got the Texans, the Seahawks, and the Broncos. The Texans and the Seahawks, wash. We already know they're beating them. They're going to beat the Broncos because Kansas City is not a bad team. They will not be swept by Denver. Kansas City will not be swept by any team in their division. I got them splitting with all of them.
Yep.
They will split games. I do have them losing that last game because I have them splitting. They're going to lose that last game of the season to the Las Vegas Raiders. That's going to land them at 10-7 with a possible wild card spot depending on the tiebreaker scenario.
That's pretty respectable. Kansas City, it's not that I don't even think as much as like they regressed as it's more of like everyone around them made so many moves to really improve in the AFC West. So I think the expectations for the Chiefs they're expecting the AFC title game because the roster does still have plenty of talent. They want Mahomes to not get too much off of his rocker, obviously, since Tyreek is gone. And I think they really need to utilize all their receivers into Sky Moore, MVS, Juju, Mecole Hardman, because if Andy Reid, and this is not a knock on Andy Reid, but if Andy Reid is truly as offensively creative as we say that he is, then he should have absolutely no problem implementing those other receivers into his offense. And more times than not, you really shouldn't feel the absence of Tyreek Hill. Clearly, he's not going to be, 100% speed down the sidelines, one-play touchdown if you miss a tackle. But Andy Reid has plenty of weapons to work with here. Trent McDuffie is a big draft pick, and George Karlaftis, they really need production out of them, whether it's on the line or in the secondary there. I think they could win about 12 to 14 games and place no worse than second in the division. But the reality for this team is I think Mahomes and the Chiefs, they might look a little inept for the first few weeks, adjusting without a Tyreek Hill, getting more of a Mecole Hardman, getting more of a Juju that's actually going to be like, maybe a surefire wide receiver one. Like MVS is going to be in a new system. You got a rookie in Sky Moore coming out. So I think there's going to be an adjustment period for this Chiefs team here. But I do think, unfortunately, that the divisional round is where their season is going to end because the AFC absolutely loaded up this offseason, let alone with the AFC West as well. And unfortunately, the Chiefs kind of didn't at the end of the day. Division's nuts. Everyone upgraded. So their record, I believe, floor of 9 wins. I could see losses to the Bengals, Rams, Colts, Bucks, and Bills. They could win 2 to 4 games in the division because we really don't know. Like the Chargers have a lot of talent. The Raiders have a lot of talent. The Broncos could surprise everybody. Don't necessarily think that they will, but the AFC West could definitely go in a couple different directions. I think a ceiling of about 10 to 12 wins, and they're going to either be first or second in the division. Let's talk about these Las Vegas Raiders who went 10-7 last year and lost the wild card to the Cincinnati Bengals. Expectations versus reality.
Another team in the AFC West that also had their season ended by the Cincinnati Bengals.
Nuts.
They added Devontae Adams, the leading offense that already is boasting a Hunter Renfrow, a Darren Waller, a Josh Jacobs, and Derek Carr. Offense should absolutely be one of the best in the entire NFL by the numbers. But their defense has so much to be desired.
So bad.
They were 14th in total defense just in yards because that's what total defense is. They were 26th in points allowed at just under 26 points per game. They're giving up entirely too many points. They did not get better on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
I can see them being one of the most exciting teams to watch in 2022, but I can also see them having difficulty getting stops and actually getting other teams off the field, which is going to be a problem. Their expectations, that's absolutely going to be to win the division, make the playoffs again, because, they did sneak in last year.
Yep.
With the addition of Adams, they've got Super Bowl fever out there because they really feel like that offense is primed to do something, especially after watching what Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase did. Feel like you reunited your college guys. You've got now Derek Carr and Devontae Adams, so you're looking at Super Bowl. I think those expectations are extremely lofty, so let's look at the reality. First 5 games to the Raiders, it's a gauntlet. You're at L.A., play Arizona, at Tennessee, Denver, and Kansas City. 5 offenses that can all put up points against a less than capable defense. They'll go 2-3 to start the season. So it's going to start ugly. Yeah. They're going to get their wins over Arizona and Kansas City, which sounds crazy. You're like, they'll beat KC. The Raiders usually will steal one over them. So they get the first matchup against Kansas City. Coming out of the bye, they've got Houston, New Orleans, Jacksonville, Indy, Denver, and Seattle. This is where they'll start to actually right the ship. In those 6 games, I got them going 5-1. I think they'll only lose to Indy. They'll be 7-4 after 11 games in 12 weeks. So now it's looking like the Raiders are primed to do something. They'll finish up the season with the Chargers, the Rams, the Patriots, the Steelers, the 49ers, and then the Chiefs again for the season finale. I got them going 3-3 down the stretch for a final record of 10-7, tying them with the Chiefs and hoping for a tiebreaker scenario to get them into the playoffs.
All right. Raiders. New coach coming in. We'll see what happens with them. Like I said, they went 10-7 and lost the wild card to the Cincinnati Bengals. So expectations walking in. Clearly, like Fees mentioned, they did bring in Devontae Adams, and so they're expecting Devontae Adams and Derek Carr to be one of the best quarterback wide receiver duos in the NFL walking into next year. They did draft Zamir White from Georgia, so I do think that does help with some of the running back room questions that they have around Josh Jacobs. They're expecting that pick to really, really produce for them coming in. Couple of defensive picks in Neil Farrell and Matthew Butler to bolster that defensive line and help clog the lanes, because you could absolutely run the football through the Raiders last year. And the defense, hopefully, again, like we've talked about, Fees, a less than capable defense doesn't hold them back like it frequently has. They gave up 26 points per game last year, which was 26th in the league, and I think they expect at least a divisional round appearance. Now, when we go over to the reality, I think Derek Carr and Devontae Adams clearly hold up to the the expectations that they're going to have. I think they'll work just fine together. Zamir White, I think, will get introduced around week 3 or week 4, maybe. They won't wait as long as like the Colts did with Jonathan Taylor, but I think once Zamir White steps in, he'll be a surefire RB2. And hell, who knows? Maybe he's performing well enough, or Josh Jacobs might be a little banged up to where he could get a little more production than Josh Jacobs would in those coming weeks. Again, Farrell and Butler, I think they will more complement Max Crosby to help him break out and have a bigger season rather than they will. I think they'll stuff the lanes just fine, but it'll be more of a compliment to Max Crosby at that point. I think the defense will still be the middle of the pack, and they will have a divisional round exit due to the defense, maybe even a wild card, just because you got to perform in big spots. Their defense bends, and unfortunately, it does break at times. Record of 11 wins here, and I think they will place third in this division. On to the LA Chargers, who went 9-8 last year and missed the playoffs. Expectations versus reality, Fees.
9-8, missed the playoffs due to the tiebreakers. Their expectations are absolutely to win the division, host a playoff game, possibly multiple, deep playoff run.
Deep.
I mean, really, no less than the AFC Championship game for the Chargers in the expectations realm. I mean, they're actually they're expecting this guy to take them to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
This is a prove-it year for Justin Herbert, especially after we watch what Joe Burrow was able to do last year with nothing that resembled an offensive line. They didn't really make a lot of changes on the offense, but they brought in Khalil Mack. They brought in J.C. Jackson. That removes the defense from any of the excuses why this team has been underachieving. They're returning Eckler, running back, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams on the outside. The offense, it doesn't jump off the paper, but they put up a lot of yards last season. They're playing a third-place schedule, which should be favorable. So they're expecting greatness this year. The reality, their first 7 games, they're going to be light. So spirits are going to be very high in L.A. They've got the Raiders, the Chiefs, Jacksonville, Houston, Cleveland, Denver, and Seattle. That's 4 gimmies. You got Jacksonville, Houston, Seattle, and a Watson-less Cleveland, because he's not going to be there in the first 7 weeks of the season. So those 4 games, wash. That's easily the Chargers. But we look at week 1 versus the Raiders. They'll win that game. So, I mean, that's 5. They'll lose to Kansas City. They'll lose to Denver. I got them 5-2 through 7 weeks of the season. So that'll have the Herbert buzz, like, just crazy, alive and well. He's already been anointed, so he doesn't need anything to kickstart it. You look at the next 6 games, they aren't scary either. They're at Atlanta, at San Francisco. They got Kansas City, at Arizona, at Vegas, and Miami. They'll beat Atlanta and San Francisco. The KC split has them winning this one. They'll beat Arizona, but they'll lose to the Raiders, and they'll lose to the Dolphins. 4-2 in that stretch. That'll have them at a strong 9-4 coming through the first 13 games of the season. And the end of the year is where things get nasty. Last 4 of the games, last 4 games of the season, Tennessee, at Indy, the Rams, and at Denver. They could potentially lose all 4 of those games. I'm in the air about the Titans, but outside of that game, they're losing the other 3.
Ooh.
They're going to lose at Indy, they're going to lose to the Rams, and they're going to lose at Denver. They could possibly go 11-6, but I'm looking at 10-7 along with the Raiders and the Chiefs for a 3-way tie situation, looking at tiebreakers to make the playoffs.
Talking about my beloved Chargers like that. Yeah, it is going to be a wild division for sure with the AFC West. I think the divisional games clearly are really going to matter, and we might even see like a deeper diving and actually see, how they're going to seed everybody and what they're going to do with the division here. So clearly the Chargers massively loaded up in the offseason. They got J.C. Jackson. They got Khalil Mack. They brought in a lot of pieces and have a lot of healthy players coming back for them as well. With maybe the best roster on paper in the league, they're expecting to have no less than a divisional appearance. But like you said, Fees, clearly a championship game would be nice, or even a Super Bowl appearance as well. The sky's the limit for this team, considering what they did in the offseason, knowing how the fan base is. They're ready. They've got the new coach. They've been held back for a while, so they want it to happen here. You got Austin Eckler, Bosa, Keenan Allen coming back, all healthy, and they need to produce consistently for this team and in big spots for them to get to that type of level that they want to be at. Again, with the big defensive stars in Khalil Mack and J.C. Jackson, that is expecting to give them a top 10 to top 12 defensive presence in the league, which has held them back a lot like the Raiders. They expect Herbert to be in the MVP conversation. They expect this offense to be near the top of the league, and they expect to win this division. Now let's tone it down a little bit and get to the reality for the Chargers in the 2022-2023 NFL season. So the best roster on paper, like some people say, will make it to the divisional round, but I think experience shoots them down here. Herbert's never been to a game in January, let alone a good bit of these guys on the roster haven't played a lot in January, if at all. Brandon Staley's only going to be a second-year head coach at that time. You're going to see some people from the AFC West, and overall, going through that gauntlet of the AFC could be very tough because there's not a lot of horrible teams in the AFC like there used to be. And you look at the fact that Eckler, Bosa, Allen, again, they need to come back healthy. They will come back healthy, and this team does stay consistent. Khalil Mack and J.C. Jackson will have the spotlight all over them, so I think it's major pressure for them to perform with this Chargers team, again, with all the moves that they've made and with the expectations that they have. But I think the defense only improves to about middle of the pack. We saw year over year, whether it was passing, whether it was total yards, whether it was points per game, that the Chargers really do give up a ton on the defensive side of the ball, so that's going to put more pressure on your offense, going to put more pressure on your quarterback that, needs some of that breathing room in order to perform at their peak. I think they win 12 to 14 games here, and I think they'll be either first or second in the division, a lot like Kansas City. Now we are on to the Denver Broncos. They went 7-10, missed the playoffs, major trade with Russell Wilson. Expectations versus reality, Fees.
7-10 last year under Drew Lock. So, with that level of success with that bad a quarterback, the expectations are through the roof. You added Russell Wilson. You added Randy Gregory. You added a new coach in Nathaniel Hackett. This team was literally a quarterback away from being relevant. You replaced them with a future Hall of Fame quarterback, a top-tier head coach, and you grabbed a great defensive player.
Right.
So you got Russ, Jerry Jeudy, Courtland Sutton, KJ Hamler, Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon. The defense last year was third in points allowed and eighth in yards allowed last season. So, that defense is looking something like what Russ had, say, back in 2013 and 2014 when he went to back-to-back Super Bowls. They upgraded the offense and the defense. So their expectations are absolutely to come back in this year, win the division. They want Russell Wilson to be the second coming of Peyton Manning for the city of Denver, to walk right in, take them to a Super Bowl, have a 2015 season all over again, and they have every reason to believe that. Now, looking at the reality, the first 8 weeks of the season are set up to have Denver licking their chops for a Super Bowl. They start off the year at Seattle, win. Houston, win. San Fran, win. Vegas, win. Indy, that may be the only game in this stretch that they don't win. So if they lose to Indy, they'll be looking at 4-1. They'll go to the Chargers and win. They'll beat the Jets. They'll beat the Jaguars. So 7-1 to start the season. That's going to have the Denver Broncos really talking about Super Bowl or bust. The next 5 games up, it ramps up a little bit. You're at Tennessee, Vegas, Carolina, at Baltimore, and Kansas City. I got them going 2-3 in that stretch, losing to Vegas, Kansas City, and Baltimore. They'll sit at 9-3, 9-4, right along with the Chargers after they played 13 games, right there neck and neck to where just like what we expect the AFC West to be, the class of the NFL, last 4 games are going to actually determine who wins the division. They've got Arizona. They play at the Rams. They got Kansas City and the Chargers. They'll beat the Cardinals. They'll beat the Rams. They'll lose to the Chiefs. And then they'll beat the Chargers to finish the season at 12-5 as the number 1 team in the AFC West. The Denver Broncos will come out on top of the best division in football.
Damn. I'm really surprised that you say Denver coming out on top. Denver winning the AFC West in the first year of Russell Wilson.
I called each game one at a time. It's not I don't know what I think. When you look at game for game,
Yeah.
I have them winning 12 of those games, and I don't think any other team in their division will win 12 because unlike the rest of them, the Denver Broncos are playing a last-place schedule.
Yeah.
So they've got 3 games against 3 of the worst teams in the NFL, which that's a buffer. That's how you win 12 games instead of 10 like the rest of them.
Right.
Because you get games against the Jets and you get games against teams like Jacksonville and Carolina.
Why you say it like that?
Because they suck. Those are gimme games.
Yeah.
But you get the Jets, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Carolina Panthers. That's the difference in you being in a tiebreaker scenario and you winning the division because you were last. Just like last week, said worst to first, Denver Broncos.
All right. Heard that. That'll be very interesting to see how this entire division plays out. Russell Wilson taking the Broncos to the top. 12 wins. We'll see how it plays out, man. So like we said, the Broncos were 7-10 last year and did miss the playoffs. Expectations coming into this year is Russell Wilson overcomes the pressure, all of the pressure that's on him now, being with a great roster, being with a slightly better O-line, being with a better defense, of course, all the downfalls that were with him, obviously, in Seattle. And, they expect him to save this franchise and really help him perform up to the potential of their entire roster, like we've seen for so many seasons, whether it's a secondary, whether it's some of the offensive players. We know the talent that's been in Denver, no question about it. And we'd heard for seasons, again, how good they've been, but they were unfortunately held back by Drew Lock or, maybe Teddy Bridgewater a tad bit. Mostly Drew, of course. We know that he was the one running the show in Denver. You look at the acquisitions of Randy Gregory and J.R. Reed. They really need to supplement the losses of both Bryce Callahan and Kyle Fuller. They were really big pieces in that secondary for Denver last year. And, seeing how they held down the defense, they really want those 2 other guys coming in to be able to supplement for them, so they don't lose that really kind of elite presence that they had in the secondary throughout the NFL. They want to win double-digit games, no question about it. They want to make the playoffs and go to at least the divisional round. Now let's talk about the reality here for the Denver Broncos. So I don't think they live up completely to the hype that's around them right now. The defense did improve, but the offensive line, didn't necessarily improve a whole lot there. Seattle gave up 46 sacks last year, and Denver gave up 40. So if Russ can stay in the pocket, not fall off towards the end of games, and kind of sense this fake pressure that comes around him at times, I think that the Denver Broncos could be okay in that aspect. I think the defense will be about middle of the pack. The offense will be needing more weapons at some point in the season. I like Cortland Sutton. I like Jerry Jeudy, but we know that both of them do have a little bit of durability issues. If they make a trade for either maybe, I would have loved to see Noah Fant stay in Denver first and foremost when that trade happened with Seattle. If they could bring in, maybe a tight end presence, another receiver, maybe another running back to complement Russ at that point later on in the season, I think it would really benefit them there also. And again, we know, the Broncos are being sold. They have a brand new quarterback and a brand new coach. And, unfortunately, Russell Wilson kind of tends to fall off at some of these ends of the seasons. So I think there's a little bit of noise around this franchise right now. We talked about that a couple weeks ago with if this was going to be kind of a downfall with everything that's happening with the team. Going through the record, I think we've got 9 wins here for the Denver Broncos, 4th in the division, unfortunately. So very, very opposite predictions for you and I. It's going to be great to see. No, I won't make a bet on it either.
You said the defense will be middle of the pack. They were 3rd in points allowed and 8th in yards allowed. How are they, who did they lose for you to feel like they're going to be mediocre?
Bryce Callahan and Kyle Fuller, dude. They were really, really great secondary players for them last year. That's a big reason why they had that defensive presence. They had one of the best, if not the cornerback safety tandem tandem in the league last year. People don't realize how big those guys were. And a couple of years before that, too, really young players, very talented. So I think losing two of those big secondary guys is going to make them take a step back. Now, again, they did bring in J.R. Reed and Randy Gregory, so that's going to be good pass rushing. And obviously, Reed used to play for the Rams, so that's going to be solid there as well. 9 wins, though, 4th in the division, so definitely very opposite predictions here from Fees and I. But hey, that's what makes it Petty Sports. That's what makes it the show. It's going to be great to see how it plays out. But that's a wrap for episode 64, ladies and gentlemen. Again, you see the QR code on the screen. Scan it. Check out everything we've got. Shout out to KINGZ Broadcasting Studios. Shout out to Pulse 880 The Beat, the heartbeat of the South. Make sure to give them a look as well. It's been a great show. Appreciate the comments, the calls, and everything in between. Fees, take us out tonight, man.
Yes, sir. Y'all know what it is. Appreciate y'all for tuning in every single Wednesday night. It's Petty Sports, the podcast on KINGZ Broadcasting Studios. And y'all remember, every single day, keep it petty.